Hey, and welcome to the Planning Center University video for resources. Wait, make that calendar. You've probably seen this new name floating around out there, and that's because we've recently rebranded. Functionally, not a whole lot is changing, so everything you learn in this video will still be applicable. Our new name, Calendar, just does a better job of explaining our current features and where we hope to be in the future. Calendar is still the place you're going to go to manage your rooms and resources and approve how they're used for your events. Even though resources was intended to be used by facilities managers, it began being used by staff and volunteers to track large public events as well as small internal events like maintenance, birthdays, and meetings. So off we went developing these features that allowed resources to be used by a broader audience. But as we did that, one thing became clear. People had no idea that we had made this shift. People would say, "Oh yeah, we love Planning Center. We use all of your products except for resources. We don't need that one." But as I was able to explain what resources did, they changed their minds. A lot of times it was just the name that was messing them up. So it was time for a change that would create clarity around the purpose of our product and the benefit that we can bring to churches. It was time to change to Calendar. So what does this mean for you? Well, we're going to continue to work on the facilities side, but we're also going to work on becoming more of the central calendar for your church. Our goal is to provide a central place for various types of users to get exactly the information they need about all of the events happening in the life of your church, large and small, public and internal. The changes and updates we've made over the past year, and all of the work that we have planned for the future is meant to better support you and your church. We're listening, so reach out so we can continue making software that makes your ministry more efficient. So if you've passed on resources before, or you're just checking us out for the first time, welcome to Calendar. So now I'm going to hand it off to Scott, who's going to walk you through the ins and outs and show you how to get the most out of Calendar.
All right, let's see. All right, welcome to Calendar. Welcome to Calendar. Today's a really exciting time because for two reasons. We just recently rebranded to Calendar to better reflect what the app actually does, which is something that Evan just talked about there, and because we released our new event page. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to walk you through all of what Calendar does. I'm first going to show you what it's like to create a quick event as if it's a normal day and everything's already been set up. Then I'm going to show you how to set things up. And then I'm going to, throughout all of that kind of information, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on what you can do to make that happen. But the first thing that I want to show you is how to contact our support. So on every one of our pages in Calendar is this question mark up at the top right. And that's how you access our support team. So you can see here we have suggested articles, which will change based on what page you're on. So you can get suggested articles based on what you're looking at. You can also browse our documentation, you can ask a question, and you can contact our support team. And we'll show you how long that response might take. So it's going to take about 40 minutes now, which honestly, if you ask them a question right now, you'll get an answer by the time I'm done talking today. So that's really exciting. Also, contacting our support team is the best way to handle feature requests. So Calendar is in a state of transition right now, especially with the new event page that we showed, and we want to hear those feature requests. We're really excited to get out what we did get out, and we're really excited for the future of what's going to happen with Calendar as well. And that future comes from you guys, so please don't hesitate to contact us. All right, so also I just want to mention that if you want to watch this later, you totally can. This is being recorded live right now on a Thursday afternoon, but if you want to watch it later, we're going to upload it to YouTube, and you'll have access to all of our other videos and this video at planning.center/university. All right, let's get started. Let's get into Calendar. So the first thing that I want to talk about is we kind of found how as people used Calendar, there's 3 different types of people that use it. And throughout this whole hour or so, I'm gonna give you like tips and tricks based on that particular context. So those 3 types of people are, first, there's like an administrative person. That's somebody who really needs to know everything that's going on in their church. They want to have the pulse of the church. So they just need to know everything, right? Administrative person. Secondly, there's the facilities person. That's person that just cares about what they need to care about, whether it be just the audio or just like how many chairs need to be where, that kind of stuff. So they just care about the schedule that applies to them. And lastly, there's what we're calling the ministry type person. So that's a person who is really doing the day-to-day work with everything. They're the ones that are creating the events, getting things approved, and making sure things happen. So those are kind of the three different types of people that will kind of give you a little bit of context with throughout the hour here. So that's administrative people, facilities people, and of course and then ministry people. Yep. That's right. So first up, let's create an event. You can see when you get into calendar here, we first have our events page. And there's a lot going on. We're gonna show you a lot more about this a little bit later, but let's just create an event on Saturday, on the 22nd. We're gonna have a community concert that we're gonna create, and I'll show you what that looks like. So first, we'll just say community concert, and thankfully it tells me that I misspelled it. And then we have the owner. So with this is like the person. It's like the contact person of the event. We automatically select the person who is signed in, but if you're doing this for somebody else, you can change the owner there. Now, our concert is between 6 p.m. And 8 p.m. So I can just hit 8 and P and then hit tab. And it's on February 22nd. So it starts that day, ends that day. That's basically what that means. There is no repeat there, but you do have a plethora of options for you to repeat, to have like different recurrence patterns that you might think of there. This one's not going to happen. These next two things, though, event location and event description, are really there just for your publicly shared information. So it's the things that are going to show up on your Google Calendar or your iCal or wherever you send this information. So the event location isn't where you want to put in the rooms and locations. This is just in general, where do you want this to be? So I'm going to say South Campus Gym, something like that, just so people know kind of where to go. Same with the event description. It's only there to be shown on those kind of public things. So I'm going to say join us for a night of music and fun with your family. No misspellings. Look at that. That was beautiful. I'm so proud of myself. I can continue. And then we have tags. Tags are ways that you're going to organize your calendar, basically. And tags are super important, and I'll talk about those a little bit later, but just know that you can require tags. So every time someone tries to create an event, they have to select a tag. So we're going to say that this is going to happen in San Diego, and we're going to say it is a community outreach type of event. All right, then we're going to hit submit, and we're coming to the brand new event page. And this is really exciting. I really love this. Just so you kind of understand what's going on, is the two most important things when it comes to your event is the schedule of your event and the rooms and resources that are needed for that. So that's why those are up front and center right there. On the left, we got our schedule, and on the right, we got our rooms and resources. So that's really exciting for me. So I'm going to hit, but just so you know, if I created this, it hasn't booked anything. I haven't asked anybody anything yet. So it's very important that you start adding information to that. So we'll go ahead and hit the edit button right there, and you can add things. I'll start on the left side there for the schedule. First, we kind of automatically suggest setup and teardown because my event is from 6 to 8, but I need those rooms and resources booked for times before and after my event. So what I mean by that is I need from, let's say, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. for setup. And then I need for teardown, let's say 8 p.m. to, 10:30 p.m. Just like that. So that we always kind of like suggest that there is a setup and tear down, because most of the time you don't just need the times of that event. But you can see on the bottom it does tell you that overall time. This whole event is from 3 to 10:30. Now, something else to point out here is that we have these two little buttons right here that I can toggle on and off. This shows things on the calendar, and this guy shows things on the kiosk. I'll show you some examples of that later, but basically, there's a couple things that you want to do. Like, so the making it visible on the calendar is really for public sharing. So what I mean by that is when I shared this, I don't want to share that there is a setup and teardown. I just want to share that there's a community concert, and that's it. But when it's on the kiosk, that's really for like on-site sharing. So I'll show you an example about that, but a little bit later. But basically, if you do have things broken up on site, well, you can just show it on the kiosk. And lastly, if both of those are off, like in the case of setup and teardown here, that's really just for the staffs and volunteer people to know that this is when those rooms and resources need to be. So that's going to show up for them if they need it too. So that's times, that's the schedule. It's super simple to set up the schedule just like that. You can hit add custom time, just keep adding as many as you need. There's no limit there. And now let's go over to rooms and resources. Now, if you are used to the old way of the event page, this is a lot more different. So there's a little bit of a learning curve here, and it's all in the power of this search box. So what's cool about that? So I need to book the gym. So I could just type in gym, and it's going to show it up, and it's going to show it says what campus it's at. It's got the Atlanta campus or San Diego campus. Or let's say I don't actually remember what the name of that room is, but I know it's at San Diego campus. I can type San Diego, and I could actually spell it right. And I will have a few things that I could select from there, or I could even, do like folder levels type of stuff. But anyway, the idea is that you can scroll down with your arrow key, hit enter, and it's going to add it. And then here is where the magic of here's where the magic of calendar, I caught myself, sorta. I barely didn't say that. Don't count it. Thank you. But this is where the magic of calendar starts, and that's in how you get all that information that the facilities teams need in order to book something. So it's going to first default to questions if there's any required questions, and I'll show you what that's like. So when I book the gym, it says, is this a sporting event? I'll say no. I guess they want to make sure they don't wax the floors right before a sporting event or something like that. How many people expected to attend? Let's say there's 100 people expected. Will there be food? No. Will you require audio or video? Yes, we will, because it's a community concert. So that's basically the gym. The next thing is a really cool feature called setup. I'll switch over to that setup tab. And this is where so our gym has a bunch of different ways you can set it up. You can have a divided room where people share the gym at the same time. You can have an open gym where there's nothing in there. You can have a bunch of round tables and chairs, or you can have this theater setup. When I select that theater setup, it's going to show me what it looks like here, and it's going to suggest some resources for me. So usually when I have this theater setup, I do need a bunch of chairs, which I totally do. And it does say it suggests for this setup that we have 80. 80 chairs can fit in that location, so I'll go ahead and add those. That's about it for the gym, so I'm going to close it here, and you can see that within the gym, I have my chairs. If I want to get more information here, I can open that guy up and see that information. But there's a couple other things that I need to book for this for this event, for the community concert here. The next one I do is the lighting console. Oh, there we go. I just typed in light. I forgot exactly which one it was called, but I can just hit the down arrow, hit enter, and I got my lighting console. And then also, because of the community concert, we want to put trash cans, some rolling trash cans in the hallway before you get into the concert, right? So the trash cans don't belong in the gym. They're going to be resources that are not in a room. So I'll type in the word trash. We got my rolling trash cans, and there's a little trick here. You can see I have one rolling trash can. I need more than one of those guys. So I'm going to open that up and I'm going to go ahead and ask for 10 of them. You can see before I did that, it does say there are 9 of 10 available. I'll go ahead and hit 10. Now there's no more than 10 available there for me. So I think I have everything that I need to do, but just to confirm, well, you know what? I don't actually have to confirm on this screen. This next screen is one of the coolest features about this new events page. It says save changes to this date, and it shows me this what we call like a confirmation modal. So these are all the things that are happening in this event. The recurrence, it doesn't. This is blue. That just means it's kind of, it's the same. But on the left side is what the event was when we first started, which was kind of nothing. And then on the right side is all the changes that have been made. So you can see I've added a setup, I've added a teardown, I've got my gym, my chairs, my lighting console, and I've got my 10 rolling trash cans. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So like this is kind of the best way to get like an overall view before you confirm everything, an overall view of what's going on. Everything's going to be from 3 to 10:30. This looks great. I love this. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say, yes, make these changes. What this does is it'll immediately send out requests for all the information of all the things that we asked for. So those requests will go out and it's immediately. That's a little bit different than our old event page, by the way. We did have like a 30-minute kind of countdown timer to make sure that things were like that you were kind of done with the event, like creating the event. That's gone. The all it is now is just once you confirm it, we assume that you confirmed it on purpose and it's going out. So that's it. We've created an event. We've sent things out. There's one more thing I want to point out on this event page, and that's the subscribe button up here at the top right. This is a neat event. So I am already subscribed to this event because I'm the owner, and I can't uncheck that because I'm the owner. But I could uncheck the notifications to enable the notifications or not. But let's say I'm another person and I'm just interested in all the notifications. I could come into this and I can get notifications, and I could subscribe to it, which is going to show up on the main calendar on the events page as well. So that's an incredibly useful feature just to make sure. So if you are that, that administrative type that you kind of want to know about everything that's going on, you can go ahead and subscribe to every one of those events. Yeah, that's it. So this is why calendar is such a lifesaver, such a time saver, just because I've worked at small churches and some large churches, and how things were booked before was kind of a pain. Like before, when I worked at a small church, what would happen is somebody would request something on the phone. The secretary would bring it to like this meeting we would have every month, and then we would discuss whether or not it was okay or not. And then we would have to go and talk to the original person, ask questions, and then talk to all the volunteers. And it was kind of like this long process that we had to communicate with a lot of people. And then and when I worked at a large church, it was like we would have these quarterly meetings where we'd have to bring these calendars to this big table, and we kind of have to fend for our ministry for that next quarter and really figure out things just in that one meeting. But with calendar, all that kind of stress is gone. Like at that small church, now someone can call on the phone, and as they're on their phone, somebody can be putting stuff into calendar, start the booking request. And if people are like on top of it and they answer quickly like that, they can potentially get an answer on whether they can have that event or not while they're still on the phone. That's beautiful. And in case of the large church I worked at, you can just instead of having to fend and have to fight for and have to like pre-plan all these things and have to be flexible and all that kind of stuff, you could just always look at the calendar, see what's going on, and really fit things up synchronously like that. So that's really exciting. That's the power of calendar. Everybody here that needs to know about this community concert is in the know, and they know the answers to the questions that they generally ask about those too. So yeah, that's the power of that. Now let's go into how to set all of that up. And this is very similar to how it's been before, but I'll just walk through it. We're going to first start at the very end with people, and then we're going to work our way back to events. People has two sections onto it. We have approval groups there on the left, and then we have people on the right. So the approval groups are there's kind of like two different contexts of which you want things to be approved. Sometimes it's like I have one person, like my pastor or an administrator, who they kind of need to approve everything. Maybe they just need to approve all the rooms, for example. You can create an approval group with one person in it, just like Evan Lemons right here. But then other times there are some people where there's like a group of people that can approve. Like for example, sometimes when we somebody needed the gym, for example, they could ask any of the youth leaders whether or not that gym is okay to be used that night. So you can have 5 or 6 people within that next approval group. And you can do things on top of each other too. So you can have two approval groups going at the same time. I'll show you that so it can click a little bit later. But that's kind of that's the idea with approval groups. Create as many of those as you want. And basically, when you ask for an admin, Evan has to do it. When you ask for event managers, either one of those people can do it. So that's that side. That's approval groups. Next, we'll go into a person's profile. So I'll go into Alton here. Couple things going on the left side. It does show that person's upcoming events. Those are things that they are subscribed to, and things that they're a part of approval groups for as well. So these are things that they'd have to be active in, right? But the right side is permissions. And permissions in Calendar works differently than all the permissions in all other Planning Center apps or products. So the permissions in Calendar are all based basically on the tabs up at the top. You see these guys. This is event, room, resource, people, event, rooms, resource, and people. So you can have different permission levels based on what you want them to have access to. So what I mean by that is you might have a facilities person who they can't create an event at all, but you do want them to be able to edit and add resources and rooms. Or vice versa, you might have like a youth leader where you want them to be able to create an event, but not be able to add rooms and resources. So that's basically how that works. You can kind of do like an a la carte type of permission level per one of those tabs. Basically, is the best way to think of it. There's one caveat I want to point out there. There's this event administrator. If you are that, there's another sub option to be a conflict resolver. So conflict is when, like, let's say 2 people ask for the gym at the same time. That allows you to create a conflict that then needs to be resolved. So you need somebody to be able to resolve that. I'll show you exactly what that looks like later, but you want to make sure there's at least 2 and probably no more than maybe 3 conflict resolvers. You don't want a lot of people to do this because it gets a little bit haphazard. So that's why we don't just make every event administrator conflict resolver, but you do want a few people to do that. So that's people. Next, we'll move over to resources. And by the way, just so you know, the reason I'm starting at people, resources, and rooms is because honestly, that's how you should start if you're setting things up. First, add your people, then add your resources, and then add your rooms. That's kind of the best way for success there. Now, when it comes to rooms and resources, we have a folder hierarchy with those, and there's kind of 2 different ways to kind of think about how to do that. When it comes to resources, so I'm catching myself if I say that word because I want to say calendar all the time, but this actually is correct. It's resources. Thanks for sticking around. But when it comes for resources, what you really want to do is you want to organize first by location. So that's like your San Diego campus, for example, and then maybe like the student center. But after that, once you get a little bit more granular, you then want to organize it by the type of resource that you have. So that is something like audio equipment, for example, or maybe it's production equipment or anything like that. So I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna go to the main building, and we got in the main video we got some. Yep, there's nothing in the audio, but there is some stuff in video, and I want to jump into the fluorescent video lighting kit here. And I'm kind of going to jump around, but eventually I'm going to cover everything, just so you know. So I'm going to jump around to the right side of this resource here. So first of all, you could just see that there's an approval group, and that's the worship center. Any one of these people can approve the fluorescent video lighting kit anytime somebody asks for it. That's how that works. But then there's those questions. So remember when we booked the gym, there was these required questions we had to ask. This is where you create those questions within your rooms and within your resources. And you can do a lot of neat things here. You can like have the heading, you can have drop down questions, yes or no questions, text questions. There's a lot of stuff that you can ask, but it's really important that if you want any of them to be answered, to make them required. So if I do go in here, there is a required option right there. But this is kind of where you'll have to do a lot of brain power basically here, and you might have to come back to this as people are booking things. But the idea is here is where you ask all the questions that you'll ever need when somebody wants this resource. And the biggest win there is then it's two things. The ministry person booking that, they can be confident that everybody that needs to know will be in the know. And then also the facilities person who is receiving these requests, they can be confident that they have all the answers in one spot and they don't have to play, phone tag or anything like that. So pay attention to the questions and make those as solid as you can. Okay, I'm going to go out and show you a couple other examples of resources. One of them is the trash can. The rolling trash can, which I think is not in the building. It is right here. Yes. Okay. So a couple things with the trash can. By the way, we do have an image, but one thing I wanted to point out is this quantity. Remember we found quantity. This is where that pulls from. So you'll want to make sure that is correct. But then we also have this. Well, before we do that, I'm going to show you the approval group. The rolling trash cans does not have a approval group. And the purpose to that is it's like one of those things that we don't really need people to say yes or no to the trash cans. They just need to book them and not overbook them with something else. And then also just like go and grab them and go and put them back. So in this case, the second that somebody requests the rolling trash cans, they're booked, they're approved, they're good to go. So you do need a little bit more information. One of those is home location. Okay, I got the trash cans. Where do I actually go and get them? Well, they're under the north stairwell. But let's say you go to the north stairwell and they're not there. That's where we have this last used section. So you can see last time it was used was the main room in kids karate. So if they're not there, I don't know why the kids need trash cans for kids karate. That honestly sounds like a lot of fun. But if they're not in the stairwell, you know where they should be in the main room there. So I'm gonna give you one more example. You can kind of be creative with how you use resources. Another way to use it is through like this box truck. It's not really a resource, but it is something that people want to book, right? So we've got the questions and approval groups over here, but we also have an expiration date and serial number. Expiration date is generally like, the bulb on my projector is going to go out in 3 years, and I want to make sure I replace it before it goes out. So I'm going to put an expiration date at 2.5 years, whatever you might be, and that's where that is. When it comes to the box truck, though, this is like the next time I want to get an oil change for the truck. It's something like that. Same with the serial number. Serial number is like, this is the serial number on this microphone, so I know this one is, this particular thing. But when it comes to the truck, you can put the license plate on it to make sure it's that one truck that you need. Yeah, so that is it. I also want to show you that you can do a little bit more creative things with the questions. We have an insurance question. Have you filled out the insurance agreement? And then there is a form which we created in Planning Center people for them to be able to fill out. All that stuff that's filled out on that form automatically gets added to that person's profile in people. So that's a really creative way to kind of bridge the gap of those two things. So that's resources. Now let's jump over to rooms. And rooms is really simple when it comes to how you should organize it. And that's just by location. That's it. Like rooms can't move around or anything. They're just where they are at. So we're going to say San Diego campus, for example. Well, I didn't click it. And then we'll say the student center. And then I'm going to jump over into the gym just to give you some examples here. So over here on the far right, we have an approval group and we have two approval groups. We have admin and we have the facilities person. So what this means is that Evan has to approve this as well as one person within the facilities team. So if a facilities team person approves it and Evan has not yet, not approved. That's how that works. So all these are kind of ands, right? But then once you're in something, these are kind of ors if you're looking at it that way. And everything else when it comes to rooms is kind of similar to resources, except that it has these room setups. And this is that powerful part. So like, if you remember, there's a divided gym, an open gym, the round tables, and we have the theater. So like, it's really important, like for me, is to add a picture so people kind of know what to expect or know what it should look like. So when it comes to the divided gym, this guy just like took a picture of what it looks like, and that's what it is. So I've seen people take pictures of their room setups. I've also seen people like draw on a napkin and take a picture of that and throw it up here. But one of the things that is pretty powerful, like a tip for you, is if you go to drawings.google.com, that's drawings.google.com. That's just like a free way for you to be able to draw some of these things. So that's where we created this open gym and the theater right there. But each one of these things has suggested resources. And I want to explain with that. This is kind of this is powerful because it takes the guesswork out of what resources are needed for that event. So so when it comes to this setup, we need tables, we need chairs, and it looks like we need round tablecloths. These are just suggested resources. So when they book that and they go to setup, they choose this guy, you will see these as options to add, which is super powerful. And this is like, there's a big win here because the idea here is you don't want everybody to have to remember exactly what they need, right? So it'll be a lot easier if you can kind of tell them what they need based on what they're booking. And that's where these setups happen. There is one little feature. If I go all the way back to the first page of rooms, we have this concept of shared room setups. So like I have an example of, I have 5 different classrooms and they all have kind of the same setup. They can have either some round tables in there or they can all have like chairs that face the front. It's just a classroom. They're all kind of the same size, that kind of stuff. So I don't have to create that setup in each one of those things. I can create a shared room setup here and share those to each one of those as well. So that is rooms. All right. Oh, there's one thing I do want to suggest too. This is kind of a tip. For each campus, I would suggest that you have an off-site room. The real reason for that is because when somebody books something off-site, you still want your administrator to be able to approve that. So the whole purpose of adding that is just so somebody can approve it. That's the only reason. So that's why we just have an offsite. There's not a lot of questions. There's not a lot of room setups or anything. And it sounds a little weird, but it's really helpful when you're actually booking things. Okay, now it's time for events. And this is where the fun stuff happens. This is, I'm pretty excited about it because this is incredibly flexible for you. So first of all, you can see there's a lot going on here, right? Like if you're the administrative person, like this is heaven, right? I can see everything. Well, you can almost see everything, right? So on the 11th here, you can see that there's 2 more things. If you do want to see everything, we do have this density filter up here at the top that just says, show me all the events, and it's going to show all of them. So that's kind of nice for that person. But then let's say I'm a facilities person. I only care about like the audio equipment at the San Diego campus. So that's where calendar is really important with this filter. So we have this filter and I could go down to the campus for San Diego. And you can see it's add that filter up here and it kind of filtered things out. And I just want to see audio. So did the same thing here, just live. So these are the only events that I care about. Which is kind of cool. So I can save these filters here. Every time I come back to the events page, these filters will just stick. They're just going to be, always there. I can run reports after these. I could have a iCal feed of this. I'll show you that a little bit later, but it's just giving you the ability to see what you need to see. But let's say also you're like the ministry person here. I'll delete these guys here. And you only care about the events that you're like subscribed to. So you can do my events and say, these are the things that I'm the owner of and that I'm a subscriber of. Here are those events. And then also, let's say I'm a ministry person that also approves a lot of things. I also want to see everything that I'm kind of in charge of approving as well. That's where this approver section goes there. And there's a lot there for me, which is kind of exciting. So that's that. I'll go ahead and delete these guys to show you one more example of how this is super useful. And that is we have this room filter. So if you are the ministry person, you can say, I just want to care about when the gym was booked. So I'll type in gym right here for the San Diego campus right there, and I just see that. This is really cool too. Another good example of using this is saying like, hey, I've got an event where I need the gym, and it kind of doesn't matter where that event goes. I just want to see when the gym's not being used. You can do a room filter on the gym, and you can be like, hey, it looks like I could do it on the 15th or the 21st, that kind of thing. So that's incredibly powerful too. Now, each one of these events has these popovers when I click on them. And just here's the tip. If you click once, it'll show you this popover. If you double click, it'll go into the event so you can get into that. But each one of these things does a show. The idea is like, I just want a little bit more information on this basketball league here. I can go in here. I can see when it is. I can see the recurrence pattern of every Monday through Tuesday and Thursday. And I can see where it is as well. And by the way, there's a repeat here because remember, this is the location when you're creating the event. That's just the public thing. And this is the room that's being booked. That's kind of the difference there, just so you're not too confused. Let's go into here. This is kids karate. It looks like that guy's red. Let's figure out why. It looks like the gym was approved to be shared. That's that conflict thing I was talked about. But the main room and the projector were rejected. So like maybe the kids karate can still do this without a projector. Not sure why they need one, but that this is like a good way to view why that event was rejected. And then let's see. This was that community concert that I created earlier. I can click on that guy, and you can see that the yellow means things are pending because I just sent those out and nobody's approved them or rejected them. However, remember those rolling trash cans? They don't have an approval group, so they're just approved automatically right there for you. So that's kind of this popover thing. Now let's go into a little bit more setup here on this page before we jump into the new event page stuff, and that is with tags. So we talked about tags. That's how you filter everything on that filter on the left side. These are really important. There's kind of one or two tags that I would encourage you to be required. First is if you have a campus, you should have a campus tag. So we have a campus here, and it has the campuses that we have. And then second is what we call ministry. So the advantage of this is like, I just want to see all the women's events. The way they organize that is by creating a tag for that type of event and then making both of those required. So every single event that gets created has to choose one of those things. That's going to keep you guys organized. There's a couple other examples here just to kind of, expand your mind a little bit. So we do have the department for audio tech, video kind of thing. That's not required. So people, so they may or may not have those on everything. And then we also have event type. So if you do want to track like the weddings versus everything else or something like that, create some event type tags. We also have language, and of course we have blocked out dates, which is just kind of like a visible way to see what's going on there, which is kind of cool. So that's tags. I do want to just encourage you, if you are using tags, they're going to be used if you require them. If you don't require them, they get missed easily. So if you want to use them, make sure you hit required right there. Next, I want to show you one more thing on the calendar, and that's this table view. So I'll go ahead and delete this guy, and we'll go over to table view. And this is really interesting. There's a couple interesting things you could do with table view that aren't as easy in the month view instead, and I want to talk about that. So first, if I scroll down, I could actually see that there's a couple events that are missing a required tag here. So this is an instance where people were creating events before, and then we added a new required tag, and they just didn't add them after that, right? So these are, so you can easily see which tags are missing. That's one useful use for that. Another one is this filter. So let's say I have the situation where I want to see when Christmas season starts. So I'm going to type in Christmas, and it shows me all the events that have Christmas in it. So you can see our Christmas season. It looks like it's about to start in December 5th. Now, if I typed Christmas on the month view, which is totally possible, I'm still looking at February, right? So I'm not going to see when actually Christmas starts. I have to like go through each one of the the months to go and see that. That's why table view is super useful for that. Another useful thing here is the ability to see. Let me show you the event owner. So I can actually filter down to the event owner. I can click on it and it will organize it, or I can click on it again and it'll reverse. It does the alphabet the other way, right? So I can come in here and it looks like Evan doesn't have the tags required. So I'm like, yo, Evan, do your job. So that's one useful way to do that. Another one is you can do that custom columns, which I showed you there, which is like I wanted to see when it was last edited, for example, and I can organize that by the last edited, or like when it was created, and anything like that. So this is one thing I just want you to play with, get comfortable with, and feel free to switch between month view and table view there. So yeah, now it's time to jump into that new event page, and let me show you some of the neat things that are going in there. So if I double click, I'll jump straight into it. So actually, let me pick a better example here. I'm going to go to the the small group leader training here, and so we got our schedule there on the left, and we have our rooms and resources on the right. So let me see a couple things. What's neat about the schedule is here's a really good example where we have a session 1 on the kiosk, lunch kiosk, session 2 kiosk, and a small group leader training on the calendar. So what that's doing basically is like the word small group leader training, that's showing up on our public calendar. But then when you actually arrive at the church, like we have this kiosk in the lobby, and it breaks it down to what's going on. So session 1 is from 11 to noon, lunch is noon to 1, and session 2 is 1 to 2. It's not going to then show this small group leader training bit on the kiosk. So that's a really powerful way to kind of use kiosk and calendar a little bit separately there. The other thing that I do want to mention this, because some people might be moving from the old event page, and they were used to this concept that we had called reservation blocks. And most of the time you only had one reservation block. So we kind of got rid of a little bit of that visibleness of the reservation blocks here. But sometimes people were using it where they would have like an event called birthday parties, and then they would have a different reservation block for each party. So you can't do that anymore. But the best way to do that is to create a birthday party here and just get comfortable creating new events for each one of those kind of instances. And you could do that really quickly and easily with this duplicate button. So if you do need to create something, just get comfortable creating new ones with duplicate there. Yeah, and lastly, like I'm really just excited because the rooms and the resources and the schedule, they're just all visible. I know exactly what's going on here. Let me show you a couple more things that are going on there. We do still have an activity feed. These are all the things that have happened. I can filter down to certain things if I want, just to see comments or to see logs there if I want. And then we have our details page. This is, by the way, where you would delete the event. We kind of honestly hide that because we don't want the people to accidentally hit that all the time. But we do have a description and notes. And the description is just like the description when I created my event. that's like, hey, join us for, what did I say, for fun and family and music, something like that. That's the thing that gets shared on public calendars there. The notes are things that you want to keep internally. So that's things like people want a place to put contact information to contact certain people about, like maybe they renting a bouncy house or something. You could put that there in the notes. What's neat about that is once you like run reports, you can choose to. I'll just kind of show you what that looks like. Sorry, not reports. What I meant to say was share. Once you share this thing, you can choose to show notes or include hidden times. Why that's important is usually if you have like a public calendar, you're just sharing it just like this. You grab this link, you throw it, and you share it. But if you're a facilities person and you want this information on your phone calendar, for example, you can choose to show the notes there because you care about who to contact at that point. And then also you can show the setup and tear down hidden time things as well because you care about when those are booked. So that's the power of, some of these type of features. Let me see if there was anything else. Yeah, the other thing I do want to point out is we do have this recurrence pattern type thing. So the Saturday, February 29th is the next one. I can go to the right to go to the next one, which is March 28th, or I can click on this like little search icon and I can see a calendar of when it's happening. So it looks like it's only happening once a month, the 25th, the 30th, probably on the last weekend of every month. It looks like that's happening. So if you are in something and you need to jump to another instance of it, best way to do that is through that little calendar right there. Yeah, that's about it on the event page. That's pretty exciting. I'm going to show you a couple other things. I want to talk about reports and sharing, and then I also want to talk about the notification page. So when it comes to reports and sharing here, how do I put that? The whatever you're filtered to is what's going to spit out there. So what I mean is, like, if I want a calendar on my website that's just for San Diego, I can come over and hit that San Diego thing. But also, you know what? I don't want everything there. I want just the approved events there. So this is everything that's in San Diego that's approved. I'll hit share and I can now grab that iCal link right there. We also do have a kiosk. The kiosk is like that thing that I talked about where it's showing in your lobby right there. And then also we have a widget. The widget is like it's just a daily widget of what's going on, and you can grab this code and throw that into your website, and basically it looks like that. So that's what that is. The other thing, I'll talk about reports. So reports is really useful for those facilities type of people. I'm going to show you a good example. I'll remove these filters here, and I'm going to add like just a video equipment. So I could actually do video here and resources that are just in that folder for video equipment. Doesn't look like there's a lot, but so this is all the video equipment. I'm going to throw a report, and I'll select my date range. This is something I want you to play with a little bit too. I'm not going to go into a lot of details because there's a lot here, honestly. But just to give you an overall view, this is where you see, like, if I am the facilities person, I can see the event name. I can see when it starts, when it ends, all the rooms that it has, and then also who I would need to contact if something's going on. See, in this event, in this instance, it's showing approved and rejected ones and pending ones as well. But that is the event page there. Or sorry, that is the reports. So the last thing I want to show you is our notifications page. And that's up here at the top right, that little bell here. Now, before we jump into this, all of the information that's on this notification page, you've gotten an email about. So in all those emails, you can mostly act within the email stuff. So when somebody asks you to approve something, you can just like hit approve from the email, and it's going to show you some stuff. But I'll show you a little bit things. I'm going to focus on the right side here first, the approvals. So you can see here that we have a couple things going on. I can approve the room B100 as well as tables and chairs. I can approve all of the 4 items here or reject them. Or I can choose selective and say, you know what, I'm not ready to do that room, but I am ready for the chairs. and I'm not ready for the Apple TV. And I could just approve those two items there. That's a simple way to do this. Also, just like a tip when it comes to approvals and conflicts, answer these as fast as you can. The whole purpose to calendar is to keep that communication tight and keep everybody informed. So you just want to answer all these as fast as you can. If you have an approval list of like hundreds of things, that's going to be a lot of pain for everybody. So please don't do that. Try to answer these as fast as possible. So the next thing on the left side is that conflicts. This will only show up if you are that conflict resolver that I brought up in the beginning. But let me just show you an example of that. So we have these two events. We have a Friday Frenzy and a Spring Camp Prep, and they both want the gym. So there's a conflict. So I, as a conflict resolver, have to decide what that's going on, which one I should choose to win, basically. So Friday Frenzy looks like they meet often. They meet every other Friday. But Spring Camp Prep, they only meet, they're just like doing this once. So it's a one-time thing. So perhaps I'm going to choose Spring Camp Prep, and I will say, please find somewhere else to meet for Friday Frenzy. So this, as it says right here, this reason will be sent to the rejected event owner. The event owner of Spring Camp Prep will just get an approval. They won't just automatically get approved. It'll get sent in the approval process. So whether that's you or somebody else, it gets sent there. But however, we do have this share this room option. So because it's a gym, we do you can like divide that gym, for example, and both use it at the same time, which just might be a good example for that. Then that reason gets sent to both people. And so you want to be clear, please share this room with each other, that kind of thing. So that's how you handle conflicts, basically. All right. And that's about it. That's calendar in a nutshell. This was a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being interested in calendar, and thanks for sticking around this long. I hope that you have learned to be confident in the system a little bit, and I hope that you understand that this is a place for all of your entire church's events to be there, whether they're public, whether they're private, whether they're small or large. Everything can be happening in calendar now. So I hope you learned a lot, but if you didn't, if you need a little bit more information, don't hesitate to contact us with that question mark up at the top right. And if you want to watch this again, share this with your team, or watch any of our other Planning Center University videos, you can do that at planning.center/university. Bye now.